Welcome to Nexus at UCF, where we connect you with the future of business. I'm your host, Dwayne Jones, and today we have an exciting episode lined up for you that explores the accessibility industry and how including it as a business service can drive innovation and long-term value, all while transforming lives and unlocking new markets and opportunities. Joining us today is a remarkable leader who holds the CEO position at not just one, but two accessibility-focused companies simultaneously, ADA Lift Rentals of America and Southeast Elevator. Tim Fischer, welcome to the show, sir.
Dwayne, good to see you.
Tim earned his undergraduate degree from the University of Notre Dame and his MBA from Loyola University of Chicago. He has over 25 years of experience in leading and growing businesses across various industries with a strong focus on delivering exceptional product quality and customer service. It's so good to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I want to start from the beginning. I want to kind of dive into your background. How and why did you end up in the accessibility industry?
Yeah, so I would say definitely not planned. It's something, something you'll hear from me throughout is always being able to and willing to pivot in your journey. I started my career in a dial-up ISP back in the days. For a lot of the audience here, you actually had to get on the internet. It wasn't always on the internet. So ran a dial-up ISP in the Midwest, sold that to a private equity group, then worked on companies that manufactured garbage trucks, stainless steel distributors, promotional products, vacuum excavation equipment. So very broad. And then in the last 5 years have been running these two accessibility companies, Southeast Elevator and ADA Lift Rentals. But if you were to look at when I came out of Notre Dame, if I was to map out my plan, I don't think any of these were on it. So it's how life goes.
That's good. Like you said, it's how life goes, pivoting, career paths. It doesn't always have to be linear and straight. Tell us about what it means to you to be in this career field now, though. What does it mean now that you have this huge impact on people's lives?
Yeah, it's something that, it's important that we feel we're making a difference from our home elevator business, where we are providing accessibility to allow people to stay in their home, age in place, call it forever homes where people don't want to move, to our ADA business, where we are providing accessibility for major events across the country. Just up in Bristol, Tennessee, a couple weeks ago for the MLB Speedway Classic, where they converted the Bristol Speedway into a baseball field. And we had several pieces of equipment there. And it was just great to see, because of our equipment, we are allowing people in wheelchairs or canes, moms with strollers, to get to areas that just were not accessible other than via stairs. So it is great to be able to be making a difference and seeing the impact.
Would you say that's the best part of your job, getting to go to these really cool events, but also getting to help people in their, like you said, their forever homes, these homes that people have spent their lives building and now get to stay in because of you and your team's help?
Yeah, it's definitely the number one item where we see where our team makes a difference. As I've gone through my career and just getting older in life, you realize, like, a good friend of the family once told me that we all get one walk through the rose garden of life. And if you do it right, one walk's all you need. So make the most of it every day. And I really very proud of the team we have right now and the impact we're making.
It's amazing. Obviously, like you said, we get one walk through this life, and some people are born with, obviously, disabilities. Some have some over time, whether it be from accidents or things that happen over the course of their life. So this is the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Can you kind of dive in and explain to the audience the purpose of this act, what it means to those with disabilities, and how it ensures accessibility to them as well?
Yeah, the ADA Act, as you mentioned, was from 1990, and it's a civil rights movement, really, geared to make sure that we are inclusive for all fans, all people. Statistically, they say 1 in 4 people have a disability. So it's making sure that we are providing equal opportunity for all people in their everyday life, as well as in our world in the events. So it's a very important thing that has gained momentum. The U.S. is further along than the rest of the world in a lot of ways as far as ADA accessibility, but we have a long way to go also. It's great to see just in the last 5 years how much more accessible events are for folks with disabilities, but there's still a lot of opportunity for improvement.
That's great. There definitely is. But like you said, I think we have come a long way as a country. Now, a lot of places, it's really mandatory for them to have these things put in place so that it's more accessible to those and mobility devices, things of that sort, so that they can access and reach these events.
Yeah, and on that, part of our job is creating that awareness, just educating. A lot of times people just don't know what they don't know. And we can point them to different ADA consultants or best practices that are out there, getting an awareness, because planning is a critical thing. Being ready for it is the right path versus dealing with it when it right there and now you have to react.
Exactly. I do want to explain to the audience to clarify that we're mainly focusing on physical accessibility, particularly under Title III of the ADA. We may briefly touch upon digital access or employment here and there, but if you'd love to hear full episodes on those topics, please drop a comment and reach out to us on social. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Continuing on though, Tim, how are non-accessibility focused businesses using physical accessibility to connect with their customers and create more inclusive and user-friendly environments, especially in industries like sports? I know you brought up Bristol Speedway, retail, hospitality, and beyond. Where is this customer experience coming in?
Yeah, so what we're seeing on both sides of our businesses, on the event side, people becoming much more focused on ensuring a good fan experience for everyone. So just seeing music festivals evolve. Music festivals since COVID have become very popular. Everyone wants to be outside. Everyone wants a VIP experience. And so making sure that you have a good setup and design called a universal design. So it's a design for that event that applies to all. And then on the home side of things, really focusing on planning, and our builders and our homeowners, even though you do not need an elevator today, it's planning ahead. I actually coincidentally had a call on my drive here this morning from a mutual friend whose son just tore his ACL in high school. And his question was, how fast can you put an elevator in a house?
Wow.
And I was like, well, I can't have it there Friday. But it is something that people are starting to realize, even though you may not need it today, planning ahead. And so we're starting to see it from the home building side as well as the event and sporting event side of things.
What's the biggest challenge when it comes to those large events like sporting events and concerts? I know you just mentioned that. Obviously, there are large crowds involved, but other than that, what are some of the biggest bumps on the roads you guys come across when it comes to that?
Yeah, one of the things we see is just making sure that people are thinking about the overall experience. It's not just how do I get somebody in a wheelchair up to that VIP structure right there? How do I get that person from the parking lot? How does that person get their ticket? How does that person get to where our equipment is? And really making sure that that design of that event is really geared for all fans and not something that is just checking a box to say we have a lift, but in order to get from here to our lift, you have to go through gravel. Well, that's not a good experience for somebody. So people are really starting to open their eyes and see that. And it's also, the reality is in today's society, we are a very litigious society. So it seems like every commercial or every billboard you see is a lawyer. Yep. So, we always say, an ounce of planning will go a long way, because no one wants the phone call on a Monday morning from a lawyer related to a client that didn't have accessibility.
Exactly. Is there a shift kind of in consumer expectations around accessibility, even among those without disabilities? Is it becoming more of an expectation, not just a necessity?
Yeah, 100%. And that's in both sides. I mean, you're seeing home designs being done geared for maybe not just whoever they think is buying the home, but who could possibly buy the home. Mm-hmm. So whether it's just planning ahead so that you've got a truly accessible design, because in the home building side too, it's one of those where you want to have a large universe of potential buyers when that time comes to sell the house. And if you've got a 2 or 3 story house and the only way to get to the second or third story is stairs, you're going to limit your potential universe of buyers. Right. So it's we're seeing it on all fronts.
Can you expand kind of on the accessibility kind of being brought into the home front as well? I think one of the things I want to know is it becoming more common for builders to kind of be prepared for that day where possibly a stair elevator might have to be installed one day? Or is it more just the house is built and now it's like, no, we can't install this? What's some of the things you've seen along the way when it comes to home accessibility?
Yeah, what we've seen there is a lot more planning ahead, exactly to your point. And it's something where even if you're not going to install the elevator today, prepare the house so that when that time comes, when your son tears his ACL or when your mother moves down from Boston to move in with you, you can make it much less of a project. Mm-hmm. So we really push with architects, designers, builders to plan ahead and kind of prep that house. We call it in the industry stacked closets. So it's a closet on the first floor, right below a closet on the second floor. So that will become your elevator shaft when you need it. So much less of a project when you need it. Usually the biggest challenge at that point is all that stuff you have in those closets, you need to find a home for it. So, but that's planning ahead is critical, which makes that addition of an elevator much less of a construction event down the road.
That's good. Jumping back on the business side of things, how are companies actually putting accessibility into practice? Is it something they build internally or do they rely more on outside experts?
Yeah, it's a combination. I mean, you've got very large companies like Microsoft that are very focused on an all-inclusive initiative, from even down to how people game and folks with disabilities. And then it varies from there to you're seeing different companies manufacturing kitchen utensils that are geared for people with arthritis. There's a lot of things that people are realizing. Back to the stats, 1 in 4 has some form of a disability. So we've got to be catering a solution that can accommodate all 100% whenever possible. And you are seeing more and more people starting to plan, but a lot of it, they will rely on outside consultants because they are focused on what they do. They're focused on designing a house or being an architect or building scaffolding for an event. So they'll pull in companies like ourselves or other ADA consultants for the event side as to how do I make sure this is a great fan experience from the time that fan arrives to the time that fan leaves and minimize the challenges. So you're seeing it from all different angles. In addition, you're seeing large companies like Live Nation hire accessibility coordinators that their sole job is to make sure all the events that are with Live Nation have a great fan experience for everyone and are accessible for all.
Yeah. Making it accessible and also, like you said, keeping the experience as natural as it can be so that that person with a disability or that needs accessible help still has that same experience as somebody that is capable. What are some examples of businesses that have seen growth through inclusive design?
I think back to Microsoft. Microsoft has done a major play in that. You're seeing a lot of things with regards to websites being ADA accessible and making sure on a web design side that you're ADA accessible for different disabilities. We're seeing, there's a lot more consultants firms out there right now too that are focusing on working with older buildings. Older buildings made 50, 60 years ago before the ADA Act are not ADA accessible. And so how do we come in there and provide a solution because we have people that are coming in wheelchairs or on crutches, and this building was built in the early 1900s that is not accommodating. So it's something that you're seeing more and more focus, as we should.
From your end, what's kind of the future of this industry? I know you said Microsoft is creating incredible things. Do you see this developing over time as the development of medicine grows over time as well? How do you kind of see this growing in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, I think it's something that, like a lot of things, evolves. I think we're still in the early stages. Like I said, we're a lot further along than other parts of the world, but at the same time, we're the U.S., so we should be the leader, and that's something that it is evolving. It's getting a lot more focus. We're getting a lot more on ourselves. We're getting a lot more people reaching out to us, knowing they need to do something, but just not knowing what they need to do. And it ranges. We get phone calls from people because the fire marshal is there and they're not going to give them the permit because the event is not ADA accessible, to people that are planning an event a year out. The Olympics. The U.S. has a lot of major events coming up here. You got FIFA World Cup next year. You got LA 28 coming up. And it's great to see a lot of different organizations, a lot of people focused on ensuring a great accessible solution for everyone that attends those events.
You mentioned how people are reaching out to you and are trying to kind of correct their ways or trying to get on the right side when it comes to accessibility. How is that changing the business side when it comes to influencing society and growing emphasis on the way they approach their marketing?
Yeah, I think, well, in today's day of social media, it doesn't take long for anything to get out there.
Doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much. And there was, about 2 years ago in Denver, there was a debate with a councilman and another candidate, and they had not planned. They did not realize that that individual was in a wheelchair and the stage was not accessible. So, it was a very embarrassing moment for everyone. The gentleman had to basically army crawl across the stage, and that was on social media before the debate was even over. So I think people are realizing that you've got to go above and beyond, and you've got to always be planning, because that was a major faux pas there, of just not knowing that you had a candidate in a wheelchair and the stage was not accessible. So social media has forced people, which is a good thing, to address it, because it's out there before it's even done.
Definitely. Switching gears a little bit to your company, could you tell us a little bit about the services your companies offer and what makes them unique and sets them apart?
Sure. So Southeast Elevator, we manufacture, install, and service home elevators all throughout all of Florida, Carolinas, Texas. So we're working with home builders, architects, designers on adding elevators to new construction. It's about 80% of our business, and the rest of the business is remodels. It's people that are trying to age in place that want to stay in their forever home. Homes are becoming multi-generational. Homes cost of land continues to go up in Florida, where a peninsula, so there's only so much waterfront property. So you're now getting homes going vertical instead of the old days of a 8,000 square foot ranch home. Everything's going vertical. Everyone wants to see the water from the second or third floor. So you're seeing home elevators become much more of evolving from a luxury item that they probably were 15 years ago to really a necessity and accessibility item where people are realizing, and I always joke, I said, a lot of times our elevators evolve. They start being a dumbwaiter. They're just used for luggage and groceries to send them up and down the house. And then they evolve to the dog vader because Pooch is getting old and I don't want to carry the dog up the stairs every day. And then at some point you blow out your hip, you tear out your ACL, your parents move down from up north. And now that being utilized as a real elevator. So an ounce of planning goes a long way. And so that's on the Southeast Elevator side. That's our focus there in working with the homeowners and the builders. Our ADA business focuses on providing accessibility for major events and music festivals, Formula One, PGA golf tournaments, wherever there's a temporary structure out in the country at an event, you've got to be ADA accessible. And so we work with those event planners as well as the events to provide that. So we'll do 200 events a year all across the country, from, like I mentioned, PGA to Formula One to Kentucky Derby to baseball games at speedways. So I always say it always wins the cool award. We do a lot of cool events, and we got a great team on both sides that take care of our customers.
It sounds really cool. And those are some incredible events that you guys get to work with as well. Your business, the way you've built it and the way you manage it, what makes you guys stand out? What makes you guys different from other businesses that offer the same thing?
Yeah, our biggest thing is do the right thing and take care of the customer. At whatever expense that is. We have a lot of customers throughout the Southeast on the elevator side. We always pride ourselves on taking care of them when they have a need. And we always pride ourselves on being the quality provider. We're not going to be the low cost guy. And that's a good lesson I've learned over my career, is that people will pay for value. People, if you can show your value proposition, we are not the low cost elevator company, but if we say that we're going to be there on Tuesday, we're going to be there on Tuesday. We're going to install a great product, and we're going to stand behind the product. And at the end of the day, especially in these custom homes, when we're dealing with multi-million-dollar homes, our $35,000 elevator is a small number, but we are a mission-critical part of that project. So it's making sure that we take care of our builders, and it's about relationships. I always say people in general, you do business with people that you like and you trust. And our core group of builders that have worked with us for decades, it's because we take care of them. We realize there's going to be times that we've got to do something that maybe we wouldn't normally do, but we're going to help somebody out, or we're going to have to sharpen our pencil, or work directly with a homeowner on something. So it's taking that business and really focusing on growing that.
Tim, you kind of brought up marketing a little bit. Can you kind of delve into marketing and what it means for you and your business and your team and how you guys utilize it?
Yeah, marketing has become a major focus in the old days of, I might be the only person that still reads the newspaper, but it's something that, we've pivoted almost completely from print to digital, and it's your online reputation is everything. And it's making sure that when people are looking for home elevators, they're coming across us. When they're looking for accessibility events, they're coming across us. But it's also making sure that we are first of mind when it's out there and people are aware of us. And even down, our branding goes down to our trucks driving down the street. And I always say that's a billboard. So I don't want our guys driving 95 miles an hour on I-4 because that's not good PR. So it's something that making sure that our number one marketing sometimes on a community is when our truck is parked at a home for a week to do an install, because then the neighbors are saying, hey, I'm calling because I saw your van down the street. And it's just making sure that we have that presence and that awareness. And that's a journey. I've learned from our marketing team, a lot of that stuff is voodoo to me. I don't know what I'm spending money on, but all I know is when people search on Google, we're top of line, or we're getting web leads and phone calls every single day. And I also know you don't just throw money at it and expect it tomorrow. We've been on this journey for 4 years now, and we're really seeing the fruit of it now. And as we do acquisitions, we now have a playbook that we roll that out in a new market on the marketing side. So it's fun to see. I always say I don't need to understand everything how it works, but it is great to see that, because it is, bottom line is we want to make sure we're the dominant player wherever we are.
It does take time, and you kind of do have to look at the numbers, see what works best for you and your business. What would you say is the best thing that kind of worked for you in the way most of your customers have found you guys?
Word of mouth is always, with our builders, it's word of mouth. The building community is a tight-knit community. Everyone seems to know everybody. And so we always say, back to the old, do the right thing, take care of your people. And I always say, in today's day and age, an unhappy customer is way more vocal than a happy customer online. So, we take a lot of pride in our Google reviews being 4.9 and 400 reviews. It's something that's important that we are taking care of our customers, because, we see it now. We all see it in society. People will complain about a meal before they've even left the restaurant. Yep. And the business hasn't even had a chance to make it right. And so it's, you've got to be on your game. It's because in today's day and age, everything is so live, and it's important there. But word of mouth, and then just our overall online presence, so that when people are looking, everyone goes to the internet to find anything. That's the avenues. And there's we've been very targeted on our marketing approach. There are some print magazines that we do because that's our clientele. It's the high-end magazine in Palm Beach. That's where we want to be.
Yeah. So. An unhappy customer is more vocal than a happy customer. That's another good analogy. Tell me your outlook when it comes to customer outreach and maintaining your foundation when it comes to your clients.
Yeah, it's I always tell our team, we have to take care of our business and our customers, and our core customers have been with us for decades, because it's so much harder to get a new customer than to keep an existing customer. So it's making sure that with our builders, our core group of builders, that we're going above and beyond. And even though we may feel that, hey, we will get their work regardless, when we have to make sure we're doing our part in delivering a good product, a good customer experience, and taking care of them and understanding their needs. Because if we don't keep in tune with what's going on in the market, our competition's always trying to get our builders. And at the same time with events, it's making sure that we are providing a great fan experience, so that if you ask our event planners, hey, how did it go with our equipment? They're like, fantastic, your team was amazing. They have no reason to shop elsewhere if it's a good experience. So it's back to relationships. It's taking care of the customers, doing the right thing, and just never losing focus, because the competition is always, and there's always new competition coming in. So you gotta stay on your A game, because if you're not on your A game, you're gonna fall.
How do you maintain your competitive advantage?
It's something that we try to focus on every week, to make sure that we never get lax on how we do something. And I'm big on reading industry magazines, or I still read a newspaper, things of just, I've been known to, be sitting at the beach on a Saturday, and I'm taking a picture of a magazine and sending it to our engineering team or our design team of, here's an idea, let's run with this. So it's, those are things where you've got to constantly be looking at, how do we better ourselves? How do we evolve?
Awesome. Talk about some of the challenges. I know you said you guys focus on kind of working alongside the customer and keeping it honest as well. Talk about the challenge you see from large to small scale when it comes to creating ADA compliant environments.
Yeah, it is, example, the PGA events are major productions.
If you could kind of delve into the PGA events, because it's very interesting, and I'm
sure
sure people would
so
love to
take
know more about
the Ryder Cup. A couple years ago, is 2021, because of COVID. Ryder Cup was up at Whistling Straits in Wisconsin. That took pretty much a year to build all the structures for an event that lasted a weekend. And you realize all the things that go into the production of a golf tournament. And if you take Orlando at Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill there, they're building structures for months in advance, and you'll see structures all over the place. And then it's planning ahead as to, okay, what is the ADA accessible solution for that structure? And then how does that person get from the pavement over there to our equipment? So it's it's really amazing to see all the planning that goes into, what we just see is on what we see on TV.
Mhm.
Scotty chipping out of the bunker and hitting a shot. It's something, all the things that go into that, from the TV side of it, the structure side of it, the catering side of it. It really is impressive to everything that goes into it. At the same time, too, on a house. I mean, we have homes that are 2-year builds that are, from the time they're breaking ground to the time that homeowner's moving in, are 2+ years, because they are so custom. 30,000 square foot homes in Manalapan that are just pieces of art that, we are once again, a small part of that product, but a necessary part of it. So it's fun to see on both sides of it. The large homes that you see on the ocean fronts, and then go into these different events and all the things that go on behind the scenes.
Well, the PGA events, I know you said it's a large build up to actually the event that actually lasts only a couple days, but it's a large build up that plays such an important role. It has such a big effect on people's lives as well. So you brought up the challenges a little bit. Tell me about the challenges you face when you work with larger companies and smaller companies. You work with larger companies like Live Nation that run concerts for almost the entire country, and small companies like, homeowners, like you said. Tell us the big differences you face when working with both of those.
Yeah, and I think that's something that it's really knowing your customer and knowing what's the challenge, what's the logistical hurdles that you have to deal with. I always say one of the things, a benefit of a smaller company like us working with a company, whether it's a small homeowner or a large organization, is us being a small company. I use the analogy of we're a jet ski in the wake. We can talk about something on Monday, implement it on Tuesday, and if we have to pivot on Friday, we can. Versus large corporations or a cruise ship. If you want to turn that boat around, you got a plan, and it's a long road to turn that. Meanwhile, we're back here jet skiing, popping the wakes over here. So it's knowing your audience and knowing your customer. And the benefit of our team is we're very nimble, so we can jump on it, and things that we've never seen before. We're even working with a client on the home elevator side right now who has a son. It's a tragic story, but has a son who is paraplegic. And we're going to be installing an elevator in their house. And I tasked our team with, how do we come up with a solution so that you can call that elevator via voice without having to press a button? So that, in this case, a person can't touch a button. How do you do that? So, we talked about it on a Monday. By Wednesday, our guys had some ideas. By Friday, we're kicking around some stuff in the shop. And I feel really good we're going to have a great solution for this customer. So it's always the benefit of a smaller company is you can be a lot more nimble and not have 32 meetings to make a decision.
Very true. That's a great analogy, cruise ship and a jet ski. Legally, would you say that you face any challenges when it comes to the legal side of things, or would you say it kind of works in your favor more?
Yeah, sometimes it works in our favor. I mean, there's sometimes too, then when you're dealing with a very large organization, you get a contract that's got 32 pages that we need to hire a lawyer to make heads or tails of, versus when you're dealing with a smaller organization, it's a lot easier because there's a lot less red tape. But it's just knowing that, it's important to us to have large customers as well as small customers. So with the large customers, we've got to be able to provide the resources and put the time and effort into understanding what's important for them, even though it might require reviewing 32 pages of legal documents.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Tell us about some emerging trends coming in your industry. Any developments that are kind of shaping the accessibility industry?
It's great to see on the ADA accessibility side, just the overall market awareness and education. That's kind of exciting to see. The elevator business as a whole, Otis has been installing elevators for hundreds of years. And that's something that in many ways, the technology has not changed too much, but it's changed a lot also. And things from, how do you call an elevator? So the old days of just pressing a button, the styling of the gates, touch screens, providing music. There's a lot of things that you're seeing more modernization especially on the home building side, where you're building 20,000 square foot beautiful mansions, and they want to have something very modern in that house as well.
I feel like we could bring this up every episode, and it's something that's impacting businesses a lot. But the use of AI in your industry as well, have you seen that grow over time? And if so, how? And if it hasn't, do you see it becoming a lot more prevalent in the next coming years?
Yeah, I think you'd be naive if you said AI is not going to touch your industry, whatever that is.
But it can be used as a tool, which is a good thing.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that I know our marketing group uses a lot. Heck, I've used it for emails. I've used it where I've got a situation or, I'll type something and say, ChatGPT, write me an email that says this and, with a nice tone. And so I use it almost every day. We're seeing it as far as technology wise on elevators. It's coming into play. So it's fun to see because we're all still trying to figure out how is it going to play in our respective industries. But you've got to be open-minded because if you're closed-minded, they're just going to pass you on the passing lane here, and you got to make sure you're adaptable and be able to pivot.
All right, so that kind of perfectly leads me into the next question, adapting to growth. How do you guys evolve year after year in response to technology or policy or consumer behavior when it comes to things like that, like whether it be, things evolving legally or technology-wise?
Yeah, it's something that I always challenge our team because we have to constantly be innovative and evolving because if not, the competition's going to run right by us. And so, one of the benefits we have at Southeast Elevator is we've done 7 acquisitions. So we've acquired companies that used to be competitors. And I always say we have like the dream team of elevator. I got the best elevator team in the country. And if we go back to the dream team analogy, I'm just Coach Daly and I got to make sure Rodman's talking to Jordan and we got everyone working together here. But it's, it's something that you've got to just constantly be looking at, creating a strategic plan, making sure that you're spending time looking at it monthly, quarterly. Are we addressing those items? Because you can get very caught up in the weeds of just fighting the fires to get through the day. And we've got to, I always say every company needs to constantly be looking at themselves strategically as to how are we getting better? What are we doing in the market? How are we reacting to new forces in the market and staying on top of that?
You talk about having a plan, acting strategically. Tell me about another analogy you have, another good one. One person, 10 hats.
Yeah, so that's the reality of small companies is we all wear many hats. And I look at myself even in my career from very small companies of the dial-up ISP days where I'm wearing 10 hats. And that involves I'm dealing with some billing stuff, I'm dealing with technical items, I'm dealing with marketing. And as you grow, the key is surrounding yourself with good people. So I always say, if I'm the smartest person in the room, we got a problem. So I want to make sure I got great people around the table and empower them for success so that they can run with wear their hats. We all, even in today's world, we're probably all wearing 4 hats, which is better than 10, but naturally the fewer hats you wear, the more you can focus on those things and do them better. I always say it's like juggling. If you try to juggle 2 balls or 3 balls, a whole lot easier than you start throwing 5 or 10 in the air.
Exactly. Kind of wrapping things up on the business end from your perspective, how do mergers and acquisitions kind of help accelerate innovation or expand service offerings from what you've seen?
Yeah, it's been great for us. We've on the elevator side, we have grown through acquisition. And what it's done is it's brought people to the table that we did not know. With every acquisition, we always say it's got to meet 3 boxes. It's got to be a good people, good product, and a good market. And back to the dream team, it's we have a great elevator team, people that have been in the industry forever that used to just stay in their little box. Mm-hmm. And now it's a bigger box. And so they start conversing and there's times that I'll get our team in the room and, my job is just to grab the marker and start writing stuff on the wall because the energy starts flowing and the ideas start flowing. And that's the benefit of M&A is it brings that to the table. With that, there's also challenges too of you've got 7 companies that have done things their way forever. And that can range from, we have different colored Post-it notes for different types of jobs or different type of manila folders. And that's not a scalable model, but how do you get in there and, approach it in a way so that you're not calling the baby ugly, but at the same time being able to say, that way is not scalable. We've got to move this in this direction here. So culture is everything. So it's making sure that you're not bull in China store. You got to be strategic.
Very good. Very good. Before we wrap things up, what's one key insight or piece of advice you'd give to business leaders or entrepreneurs who are considering making accessibility a part of their products or services, or maybe even going down your lane? Like you said, coming out of college, you didn't think you would be here, but here you are. What's a piece of advice you would give to somebody?
Yeah, I think, my biggest advice is just always be willing to pivot. It is something that 5 years ago, I had no idea what the accessibility market was, or the opportunity that existed there. And if I look at my journey, back to the jet ski analogy, I guess thinking about it even more, that's kind of been my life. It's been a jet ski of dial-up ISP, garbage trucks, vacuum excavation equipment, home elevators. I've been all over the place as far as different industries, but they've been different doors that have been opened from people that I've networked with or somebody that I knew, and just always be willing to look at an opportunity and understand your risk level. Understand, there are people that want to work at a company for 35 years, and that's okay. There are people that, every 2 years need a new car and need a new job, and it's something that's okay too. So it's knowing who you are, but I always say life is too short. And back to the rose garden, we got one walk through it.
Right.
So let's make sure you're making a difference, and wake up every morning with that passion and that drive that I'm going to make this place better today than it was yesterday, and rinse and repeat. I mean, it's, we have our good days, we have our bad days, but I always say when you find yourself and it's just a job, life's too short. Go find something else. Understand what lights your fire, and sometimes you got to go stand out on the ledge there and look at the pool and say, it's going to be okay. I'll swim.
That's a powerful note to end on. Do you have any final thoughts for us or any resources you'd like to share with the audience?
No, it just, this has been great. I think this is, I'm a big on networking. I think it's something that a message I would deliver to is just, you never know who you're going to interact with. You never know who you're going to meet on the golf course. You never know who you're going to meet at Publix. And you don't need to be chatty Cathy, saying hello to everybody, but it's something that very much so understand your network and see how you can add value to somebody. I'm very big on LinkedIn, and my big thing is it's definitely quality, not quantity. I'm not trying to be friends with 2,000 people, but I want to have a network where I can help people. And if I also need some help, I can reach out to somebody in my network and say, hey, I see you know so-and-so. Could you get me connected with them? I'd like to talk to them about something. But, really making a difference. And that's something that what I love about what we do now is both of our companies are truly making a difference in people's lives every single day. And I want to give that back too. So if there's things that I can help people with an introduction, or, if I get nothing out of it, I don't need anything out of it. It's just helping each other out, because one walk through the rose garden.
Well said, sir. It sounds like you're doing incredible work, and it sounds like you've got an amazing group of people around you as well. If you would like to learn more about Southeast Elevator or ADA Lift Rentals of America, we've included links to both websites in the episode description. Tim, thank you so much for sharing your journey, insights, and the incredible work you're doing to make accessibility a reality for so many. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been great.
Thank you for tuning in to Nexus at UCF. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find more on your favorite podcast platforms. Make sure to follow us across social media at Nexus at UCF for behind the scenes and other exciting content. My name is Kira, and I produced this episode. On behalf of the entire team, thank you for tuning into Nexus, where we connect you to the future of business.